All right, so you guys wanted the scoop on Diary of a Psychopath before it hits, well, everywhere.
Push blows up, yeah.
And we got our hands on an advance copy. Let me tell you, this thing is a total page-turner.
It is.
Luxury, art, some steamy encounters.
Oh, yeah.
And a main character who might just be, well, a psychopath. Buckle up, everybody. We're diving deep into the world of Adeline Reynolds, her art deals, her relationships, and a voice, let me tell you.
That will hook you.
It will totally hook you.
Yeah, it's like right from the start, the author's playing this game with us. Adeline, I mean, she's an unreliable narrator. Straight out, she tells us.
Yeah.
That warning at the beginning, almost like a dare, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Like, question everything.
Doubt every word. Yeah. It's definitely a bold move, and it makes you, like, second-guess everything.
Absolutely.
How do we even start to figure out Adeline if we can't trust what she's telling us?
Right. Well, that's where it gets really interesting. I think we have to look for those little things, you know, the cracks in how she wants to seem. Right. Like when she describes her anxiety on the plane.
Oh, yeah.
Seems like she's being vulnerable, right?
Yeah.
But thinking about her personality, I don't know, could it be like a performance manipulating everyone around her?
Oh, I see what you mean. It's like she's always aware of how she's coming across.
Oh, really?
Even when she seems, you know, weak. Speaking of manipulation, let's talk about the two men in her life. Adrian and Xavier. Woof.
Talk about complicated.
Oh, yeah, big time.
How she handles those two, it's fascinating. Like she's running some kind of experiment on them.
Yeah.
With Adrian, it's all about control, you know, keeping him at a distance. But she still likes the attention he gives her.
Of course.
But then there's Xavier. Throws a wrench in her whole carefully planned world.
Their connection right from that elevator scene.
Oh, yeah.
You can feel the heat. She's so drawn to him, to his confidence. But it's like, it's also kind of scary for her.
Absolutely.
Right.
Threatening to her control. And that's where that unreliable narrator thing comes back in. We only see Xavier, or how Adeline sees him. So are we getting the real him? Or just what she wants us to see?
That is such a good point. It's like we're constantly trying to peel back the layers.
Yeah.
What's real, what's made up. And then there's her art. That adds a whole other dimension.
Absolutely.
To this whole twisted puzzle.
The way she talks about her paintings, like Eteria Falls, it's beautiful, but also kind of disturbing. Like she's trying to capture this fight inside her.
Yeah.
Between like perfection and pain, beauty and violence. And that detail about the blood splatter, her own blood on the canvas.
Whoa.
Shocking, right? But it also feels like she needs to make her art and her life like the same thing.
That's incredible. It reminds me of that artist, Herman Nitsch. Ever heard of him?
Yeah.
His action paintings. He used blood, animal carcasses, really pushed the boundaries. Do you think Adeline's doing something similar, like to shock people, to control how they react?
It's possible. The blood becomes a symbol, not just violence, but like she's breaking down the walls between art and life, you know, making you confront the rawness. And it all goes back to that unreliable narrator. Is she being real with this, with the blood? Or is it another act?
It's like she's constantly messing with us.
Totally.
Reality, performance, making you question everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what makes Diary of a Psychopath so good. It's not just a thriller. It's like a psychological puzzle that makes you think about what it means to be human, you know? What's hidden inside all of us.
And just when you think you're starting to get Adeline, she throws you a curveball, like when she bumps into Xavier at that restaurant.
Oh, man.
And then accuses him of abandoning his sick kid.
Whoa. Talk about a power move.
Right. It's so calculated. But it makes you wonder, is she jealous? Trying to mess up his date? Or is there something else going on that we don't even know about yet?
So many possibilities.
Yeah.
And the author just leaves you hanging. You just got to know what's going to happen. What Adeline's really up to. And then that scene in the elevator.
Oh, don't even get me started.
The tension is so thick you could cut it with a knife.
And then that kiss.
Oh, wow.
My heart was pounding.
It's more than just physical. There's something dark there. Dangerous. In Xavier, he's into it too. It's like they're both drawn to that darkness. Makes their whole dynamic even crazier.
It feels like we're on the edge of a cliff, just waiting to fall. But we don't know how far down it goes.
The author's really good at weaving that feeling of dread throughout the whole story.
Yeah.
Little hints of violence, Adeline getting more and more obsessed with Xavier, her behavior getting more and more erratic. It's like she's setting us up for something really, really bad. And I think those clues are going to be super important to figuring out what's really going on.
Totally. It's like we're putting together a puzzle, but with like a bunch of the pieces missing. We get glimpses of Adeline's past, her relationship with her parents. But we never get the full story. It just leaves you wanting more.
Absolutely. It makes you want to dig deeper, figure out what's underneath it all. And that's what makes Diaries of a Psychopath such a page turner. You just have to keep reading to see what happens next. It's really interesting how this whole idea of art comes up in the book, how it can be, a way to express yourself.
Yeah.
But also to manipulate people.
Totally. Like with Adeline's paintings, they're not just there to look pretty. It's like they're weapons. She's using them to get a reaction, to control how people see her.
Exactly. And think about that whole thing with the blood splatter on Atiri Falls, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's not just about being shocking. She's putting a part of herself into the painting, literally. It's like you can't even separate the artist from the art anymore.
It made me think about, Freud, that whole death drive thing.
Oh, interesting.
Like this instinct we all have to destroy ourselves. Do you think there's a connection? Like, is Adeline's art her way of, I don't know, dealing with death?
Wow. That's really insightful. I mean, it definitely adds another layer to how we understand her art. And it makes you wonder, is she doing this on purpose? This whole self-destructive thing? Or is it like subconscious? Something she can't control?
Right. And then how does that play into her relationships with Adrian and Xavier? Is she attracted to them because they're, I don't know, dangerous?
It's definitely possible. Remember, we're seeing everything through Adeline's eyes. And she's not exactly the most reliable narrator.
Yeah.
So maybe she's drawn to them because they represent this need for chaos to shake up her perfect little world.
And we can't forget about the world she lives in, right? All these high-stakes art deals.
Oh, yeah.
Fancy parties. It's all so superficial.
Totally.
Do you think that plays a part in, Adeline's mental state?
Absolutely. I mean, that world is all about appearances, projecting this image of perfection. It's like breeding ground for narcissism and manipulation. Everyone's trying to get ahead. And Adeline, she thrives in that environment. She's a master at playing the game, getting what she wants.
It makes you wonder, is she a product of that world? Or is she drawn to it because it reflects something inside her?
That's a great question. And it gets at those bigger themes that the novel's exploring, like nature versus nurture, how society shapes us. And, the author doesn't give us easy answers. We have to figure it out for ourselves.
And just when you think you're starting to understand her, she does something totally unexpected. Like, remember that scene at the art exhibition?
Oh, yeah?
When she completely humiliates that critic.
Brutal. Right in front of everyone.
It was like, on one hand, I was like, yes, take him down. But knowing Adeline, you have to wonder, was it really about justice? Or was it about her need for control, to get revenge?
Totally. It's so hard to tell with her. Is she being genuine? Or is it another manipulation tactic?
And what about how she reacts to her art being successful?
Yeah.
She seems almost, I don't know, disappointed by all the good reviews.
That's a really interesting observation. You'd think she'd be thrilled, but it's like it's not enough for her. Almost like she needs something darker to really feel satisfied.
Which brings us back to that warning the author gives us at the beginning.
Oh, right.
This book ends on a cliffhanger. The contents are very dark with triggering situations such as violence, masochism, and disturbing situations. I mean, talk about setting the stage.
Yeah, she's not messing around. It's like she's preparing us for something really, really bad. And that feeling that something terrible is going to happen, it just hangs over the whole book, makes it so hard to put down.
Totally. Like, we're both repelled by it, but also, like, drawn to it.
Exactly.
And we can't forget about Adeline's family. We just get these little bits and pieces about her relationship with her father, all that resentment and anger. Do you think that could be, like, the key to understanding her, why she needs so much control?
It's definitely a possibility. Trauma, especially when you're a kid, it can really mess you up, how you see the world, how you relate to people. And remember, the book hints at a messed up past.
Yeah.
But we never get the full story.
Right. It's like we're looking at a tapestry.
Yeah.
But huge chunks of it are just missing.
Yeah.
So we have to fill in the blanks ourselves. And then there's the mystery surrounding her mother. We know she's dead. But, like, how? What happened? We don't know.
Another piece of the puzzle we just don't have. I mean, could her mother's death be the reason Adeline is the way she is? Is she trying to get revenge? Or is it something even darker than that, more twisted?
It's like the possibilities are endless.
And that's what keeps us hooked.
Totally.
Trying to predict what Adeline's going to do next, what her actions really mean. But just when we think we're getting close, she throws us another curveball.
Oh, it's so frustrating.
It's like she's playing chess.
Oh, yeah.
And we're always a few moves behind. A master manipulator, always one step ahead, running this twisted game she's created.
And it all comes back to that whole unreliable narrator thing.
Right.
We can't take anything she says at face value.
We're constantly questioning her motives, what she's really thinking, even her sanity.
It's what makes this book so unsettling.
Totally. But also so exciting to read. It messes with your head, makes you think about the dark stuff inside all of us, and leaves you with more questions than answers.
So many questions. As we head into the last part of our deep dive, I want you guys to think about this. What if you were trapped in this game with Adeline? How would you play? Could you outsmart her? Or would you just become another pawn? You know, the book really makes you think about like what it means to be a psychopath. We always picture them as like these cold-blooded monsters.
Right.
But Adeline, she's not that simple.
Yeah, that's one of the things I love about this book. It challenges those stereotypes, you know?
Yeah.
Makes you realize that people are complicated. Adeline, she might have some psychopathic traits, but she also feels things really deeply. She can connect with people, even if those connections end up being, well, pretty messed up.
Yeah, for sure. Like her obsession with Xavier, it's not just physical. There's something deeper there, a shared darkness that like pulls them together, but also could destroy them both.
Totally. Yeah. And it brings us back to that question of nature versus nurture.
Oh, yeah.
Is Adeline, like, born this way? Yeah. Or is it, you know, because of everything she's been through, that messed up world she lives in?
It's like that whole debate about, you know, are great artists born or made? Is Adeline, like, naturally manipulative? Or is it something she's learned to do? To survive in this world where everyone's trying to screw each other over?
I think the book leaves it open-ended on purpose. We get glimpses of her past.
Yeah.
But we don't have the whole picture.
Yeah.
So we have to kind of fill in the blanks ourselves. And that's what makes it so powerful, I think. It's not just about Adeline. It's about us, you know, as readers, how we see her, how we make sense of her.
And the way the book is structured, the flashbacks, the different timelines,
Right.
Unreliable narrator. It all adds to this feeling of, like, uneasiness.
Yeah, like you're never quite sure what's real. It's like putting together a broken mirror, you know, trying to see yourself in those shattered pieces. And just when you think you're getting close, another piece falls into place and it changes everything.
And then that ending, the cliffhanger, it's just brutal. So many questions left unanswered.
I know. I think the author did that on purpose, to mess with us a little.
Yeah.
Make us think about what it all means, but also maybe to set up a sequel. Who knows?
Right.
But it definitely leaves you with this feeling of, like, dread. Like, what's going to happen next? We have to imagine what's going to happen after the book ends. And that's powerful. It makes the story, you know, stay with you, even after you finish reading it.
It reminds you that life is messy.
Oh, yeah.
That sometimes the most disturbing questions are the ones that stick with you.
Totally.
So what's the takeaway for our listeners? What should they get out of this deep dive into Diary as a Psychopath?
I think the biggest thing is we have to be critical thinkers.
Yeah.
You know, we can't just believe everything we see and hear, especially these days. We're bombarded with information all the time. We have to, like, question it, analyze it, decide for ourselves what's true. And Diary of a Psychopath, it's a great example of that.
Yeah.
It makes you think. It challenges you. And in the end, it leaves you with more questions than answers.
It reminds you that people are complicated.
Very.
And sometimes the scariest monsters are the ones, you know, we create ourselves. Yeah. So if you're up for a journey into the dark side of human nature, Diary of a Psychopath is definitely worth a read.
Oh, yeah.
Just, you know, be prepared.
Yeah, buckle up.
It's going to mess with your head.
It will.
But in a good way. And that's it for this week's Deep Dive. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.